Number one, awareness, the door you either walk through or die outside. You think intelligence begins with IQ, but Machiavelli would smirk at that weakness, because the first level of intelligence is awareness, brutal, uncomfortable, unforgiving awareness, the kind that strips excuses from your mouth and illusions from your eyes. The moment you realize the world is not fair, people are not good, and power does not reward virtue, it rewards perception, timing, and control. Most men never cross this level because awareness hurts. It forces you to admit that you were never unlucky, never cursed, never misunderstood. You were simply blind. Blind to how people watch you, use you, test you, and discard you the moment your value drops. Awareness is the instant you notice that respect is calculated, loyalty is conditional, and morality is often a costume worn until power is secured. This is where the weak get angry and the strong get quiet. This is where you stop announcing your intentions and start observing patterns. You see who speaks when power enters the room and who goes silent. You see who praises you in public but competes with you in private. You see that kindness without leverage is not virtue, it is vulnerability. Machiavelli warned that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see appearances, but few feel reality. And awareness is when you begin to feel reality under your skin. At this level, you stop reacting emotionally and start collecting data. Every insult becomes information. Every betrayal becomes a lesson. Every loss becomes a blueprint. You realize the world doesn't move on fairness. It moves on incentives, fear, desire, and advantage. Masculine stoicism is born here, not the fake calm of motivational posters, but the cold discipline of controlling your face while your mind sharpens. You stop trying to be liked because you finally understand that being liked is irrelevant without being respected, and respect itself is useless without being needed. Awareness teaches you that power is quiet, preparation is invisible, and the most dangerous man in the room is the one who understands everyone else better than they understand themselves. This is the level where you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I extract from this?" You learn that emotions are signals, not commanders, and you master the art of watching without revealing, listening without agreeing, and moving without announcing. This is where the old version of you dies, the one who trusted words more than behavior, the one who believed effort guaranteed reward, the one who thought morality protected the innocent. Awareness doesn't make you cruel, it makes you precise. It doesn't make you heartless, it makes you armored. Most people never want this truth, because once you see, you can't unsee, and ignorance was comfortable. But if you're still listening, it means something inside you is waking up, something dangerous, something disciplined, something that knows the game exists whether you play it or not. And awareness is the first step toward becoming untouchable. Number two, self-control and power begins the moment you stop leaking yourself. Awareness shows you the game, but self-control decides whether you survive it, because knowing the truth without mastering yourself only makes you a more informed victim. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology named it impulse regulation, because the man who cannot govern his emotions will always be governed by someone who can. This level is where boys become dangerous men, not loud, not aggressive, but contained, compressed, disciplined. You learn that anger is expensive, jealousy is visible, and desperation is the loudest weakness in the room. Every uncontrolled reaction is a confession. Every emotional outburst hands your opponent a map of your insecurities. Self-control is not silence for the sake of peace. It is silence for the sake of dominance. You stop explaining yourself because explanations lower your position. You stop reacting instantly because speed without strategy is slavery to impulse. Cold power psychology teaches one brutal rule here. The man who stays calm decides the outcome. When others raise their voice, you lower yours. When they rush, you slow down. When they provoke, you observe. This is not passivity, this is hunting posture. Stoicism at this level is not emotional numbness, it is emotional command. You still feel everything, but nothing owns you. You delay gratification while others consume it. You resist comfort while others drown in it. You learn to sit with discomfort because discomfort is where leverage is forged. Machiavelli warned that men are quick to forget the death of a father, but never the loss of property. And self-control teaches you why, because emotions are temporary, but consequences are permanent. You stop trading long-term power for short-term relief. You stop seeking validation because validation makes you predictable. The man who needs applause can be controlled with silence. You begin to understand that restraint creates mystery, and mystery creates authority. People start watching you more closely because they cannot read you easily, and what cannot be read cannot be manipulated. This is where you become selective with your words, surgical with your actions, and ruthless with your habits. You cut addictions, distractions, and emotional dependencies, not because they are immoral, but because they make you weak. You train your nervous system to stay steady under pressure, because pressure exposes rank. When chaos enters the room, everyone reveals who they really are, and self-control ensures that when that moment comes, you do not collapse, you solidify. This level is lonely because most people bond through emotional chaos, and you no longer participate, but solitude is a small price for sovereignty. At this stage, you stop leaking energy, leaking information, leaking intention. You become efficient, contained, unreadable. And when a man controls himself, the world senses it instinctively, because nothing threatens unstable power more than someone who cannot be shaken. Number 3, social intelligence, seeing the invisible hierarchies. Self-control makes you solid, but social intelligence makes you lethal, because power is never exercised in isolation. It flows through people, structures, and unspoken agreements that most men are too naive to notice. This level is where you stop seeing conversations as conversations and start seeing them as negotiations, positioning, and status exchanges. Machiavelli knew that courts were not ruled by the strongest swords but by the sharpest minds, because the man who understands human nature commands outcomes without lifting his hand. Social intelligence is the ability to read the room before the room reads you. You sense who holds influence without titles, who pretends to lead but actually follows, who is tolerated and who is protected. You understand that hierarchy exists whether it is acknowledged or denied, and those who claim we're all equal here are often hiding their advantage. At this level, you stop speaking to be understood and start speaking to produce an effect. You adjust tone, timing, and silence with precision. You learn that what you don't say often shapes perception more than what you do. You notice micro-reactions, posture shifts, eye contact, interruptions, who gets laughed with and who gets laughed at. These are not random details, they are signals of rank. Dark psychology teaches you that people reveal loyalty through inconvenience, not words, and social intelligence trains you to test, not trust. You stop assuming good intent and start verifying patterns. This doesn't make you paranoid, it makes you accurate. Masculine stoicism here means emotional detachment from social approval. You don't chase acceptance, you evaluate alignment. You don't overinvest early, you observe how people behave when they think they have leverage over you. Machiavelli warned that men will always betray you for their own benefit when it is safe to do so. And social intelligence teaches you how to make betrayal costly or unnecessary. You learn to create perceived value by controlling access, attention, and presence. You arrive slightly late, leave slightly early, and never explain your absence. You allow others to speak first so they reveal their hand. You reward loyalty subtly and punish disrespect calmly, because calm punishment is remembered longer than emotional rage. At this level, you understand that influence is not about dominance, it is about shaping incentives. People move toward what benefits them and away from what threatens them. And you learn to position yourself as both opportunity and consequence. You also learn when to appear weak, when to appear strong, and when to disappear entirely. The greatest advantage is not being underestimated, but being misjudged. This level changes how people treat you without them knowing why. Doors open. Conversations shift when you enter. Not because you demand attention, but because you understand the invisible currents moving beneath the surface. And once you see those currents, you no longer swim randomly. You let them carry you where you intend to go. Number 4, strategic intelligence. Thinking 10 moves ahead while others react. Social intelligence lets you read the board, But strategic intelligence is where you begin to move the pieces with intention, patience, and ruthless clarity. This is the level where you stop living moment to moment and start operating on timelines. Because Machiavelli understood that power belongs to those who plan longer than others can tolerate. Most men react to events. Strategic men design environments. You stop asking, "What do I want now?" and start asking, "Where does this lead in 6 months, in a year, in 5?" Strategic intelligence is the discipline of delayed action, the art of sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term dominance. You begin to see consequences before actions, outcomes before decisions. You understand that every move creates a ripple, and you choose which waters to disturb and which to leave calm. Dark psychology reveals a brutal truth here. People are predictable in patterns, not in promises. You plan around behavior, not words. You stop confronting problems head-on when indirect pressure achieves more with less resistance. You learn that the straight line is rarely the smartest path. Masculine stoicism at this level is emotional detachment from urgency. Urgency is often artificial, created to rush you into mistakes. You slow the game down. You force others to reveal themselves through patience. You let situations ripen. Machiavelli advised that a wise prince should not hesitate to act when the moment is right, but should also know when not to act. And this level teaches you restraint as a weapon. You start setting traps not to destroy others, but to expose reality. You give people enough rope to show who they truly are. You invest selectively, withdraw quietly, and never burn bridges you might later need to cross. Strategic intelligence is also about redundancy. You never rely on one source of income, one ally, one identity, or one path to power. Dependence is a leash. Optionality is freedom. You build leverage slowly, invisibly, so when pressure comes, you are not forced to negotiate from weakness. You also learn the value of asymmetry, using small actions that create disproportionate effects. A single conversation, timed correctly, can undo months of someone else's work. A single silence can shift the balance of a relationship. This level teaches you that winning loudly attracts enemies, but winning quietly builds empires. You stop seeking credit because credit attracts scrutiny, and scrutiny invites resistance. Instead, you let others underestimate your involvement. Strategic intelligence turns chaos into opportunity, not through force, but through foresight. While others argue, you reposition. While others celebrate, you prepare. While others panic, you execute. This is the level where you stop being surprised by outcomes, because you already walked through them in your mind long before they arrived. And once you master this, life stops feeling random and starts feeling navigable, like a map only you can read. Number 5, psychological intelligence, controlling frames, not people. Strategic intelligence moves pieces, but psychological intelligence shapes the board itself, because the highest form of control is not forcing behavior, it is influencing perception. Machiavelli knew that men are governed by appearances, and whoever controls the narrative controls the outcome long before action is required. At this level, you stop trying to change people and start shaping the frames through which they see you, the situation, and themselves. Frames decide meaning, and meaning decides behavior. You understand that people don't react to reality. They react to the story they believe about reality. Psychological intelligence teaches you to speak in ways that plant ideas without announcing them, to ask questions that guide conclusions without giving answers, to let others feel like authors of decisions you quietly directed. Masculine stoicism here means detachment from ego. You don't need to be right, you need to be effective. You allow others to think they won because perceived victory pacifies resistance. Dark psychology reveals that the mind defends its own conclusions more fiercely than any external command, so you let people convince themselves. You become precise with language, tone, and timing, knowing that a single word can shift power if placed correctly. You also master emotional contagion, understanding that calm spreads, confidence infects, and uncertainty destabilizes groups. You never argue in hostile frames. You exit them. You never defend accusations. You reframe the context so the accusation loses relevance. You understand that whoever is explaining is already losing ground. Psychological intelligence also means knowing when to mirror, when to contrast, and when to remain neutral. You read insecurities not to exploit them cruelly, but to avoid triggering unnecessary wars. You see that most people are driven by fear of loss, desire for recognition, or need for belonging, and you position yourself accordingly. Machiavelli warned that fear is more reliable than love, but hatred is dangerous, and this level teaches you the balance. You become respected without becoming resented. You set boundaries without aggression. You apply pressure without being visible. You let others feel safe while subtly understanding that crossing you has consequences. This is where you learn the power of ambiguity. Clear threats create enemies. Unclear consequences create caution. You never reveal your full capability because mystery keeps others guessing and hesitation is leverage. Psychological intelligence also turns inward. You learn to audit your own biases, triggers, and blind spots because self-deception is the final weakness. You dismantle your need to be admired because admiration makes you dependent. At this level, you become mentally untouchable. Insults slide off. Provocations fail. Manipulation attempts are noticed and neutralized. You don't dominate conversations. You dominate interpretations. And once you control interpretation, behavior follows without force, noise, or conflict, leaving you in a position of quiet authority few can challenge. Number 6, power intelligence, knowing when to strike and when to let time kill. Psychological intelligence shapes perception, but power intelligence decides outcomes, because there comes a moment when influence is not enough and action must be taken with precision, timing, and finality. Machiavelli understood this better than most, because he knew that mercy, cruelty, patience, and aggression are tools, not virtues, and their effectiveness depends entirely on when and how they are used. At this level, you stop moralizing power and start mastering it. You understand that hesitation at the wrong moment is weakness, but aggression at the wrong moment is suicide. Power intelligence is the ability to sense inflection points, those rare moments when a single move changes everything. You don't strike often, but when you do, it is decisive, contained, and impossible to ignore. Masculine stoicism here is emotional neutrality toward conflict. You don't seek confrontation, but you don't avoid it when it serves a purpose. You understand that some problems dissolve with time, while others grow stronger if left alone, and knowing the difference separates leaders from victims. Dark psychology teaches that people test boundaries unconsciously, and how you respond to the first test sets the tone for every interaction that follows. You respond early, calmly, and proportionally, enough to establish consequence without escalating into chaos. You also understand the value of strategic withdrawal. Not every battle deserves your energy. Walking away is not weakness when it preserves position. Machiavelli warned that a prince should avoid being hated, but never fear being feared when necessary. And this level teaches you controlled fear, the kind that creates respect without inviting revenge. You never humiliate publicly unless destruction is intended, because humiliation creates enemies with nothing to lose. You punish privately, reward publicly, and remain emotionally opaque throughout. Power intelligence also means understanding institutions, systems, and leverage points. You don't fight people directly when systems can do the work for you. You let procedures, rules, and incentives enforce outcomes while you remain in the shadows. You cultivate allies quietly, not through promises, but through shared advantage. Loyalty built on benefit lasts longer than loyalty built on emotion. You also maintain plausible deniability. The strongest power is the one that cannot be traced back to you. At this level, you stop needing to win every exchange because your position speaks for itself. Others begin to adjust their behavior around you without direct instruction. Conversations change, opposition softens, challenges disappear before reaching you. You become a fixed point in a shifting landscape. This is not tyranny. It is authority earned through consistency, restraint, and strategic force. And once you understand power at this level, you realize the ultimate truth Machiavelli hinted at. The goal is not to dominate others, but to make yourself impossible to dominate. Number 7, sovereign intelligence, becoming untouchable. This is the final level, the one few reach and even fewer recognize in others, because sovereign intelligence is not loud, visible, or performative. It is quiet, grounded, and deeply unsettling to those who still crave control. At this level, you no longer chase power, because power gravitates toward you naturally. Machiavelli would call this the state of being feared without being hated, respected without being challenged, and independent without being isolated. Sovereign intelligence is the mastery of self, systems, time, and detachment all at once. You are no longer reactive, ambitious in the noisy sense, or hungry for validation. Hunger is a weakness. Sovereignty is sufficiency. You understand that the highest leverage is not dominance over others, but freedom from needing anything from them. You have options, and options make you unmovable. Masculine stoicism here becomes existential. Praise doesn't inflate you, criticism doesn't shake you, loss doesn't break you, victory doesn't intoxicate you. You operate from internal authority, not external approval. Dark psychology fades into clarity at this level, because you no longer need to manipulate. Your presence alone sets boundaries. People feel it. They don't know why they hesitate before crossing you, but they do. You have mastered restraint so completely that when you act, it carries weight. You have mastered silence so fully that when you speak, it is remembered. You understand cycles: rise, peak, decay, collapse, and renewal. You don't cling to identities, roles, or positions. When something has served its purpose, you let it die. Most men cling and rot with what should have been released. You move on cleanly. Sovereign intelligence also means radical honesty with yourself. No illusions, no self-mythology. You know exactly what you are capable of and exactly what you are not, and neither disturbs your sleep. You don't envy because envy assumes lack. You don't rush because time works for you. You don't fear exposure because there is nothing false to defend. Machiavelli warned that fortune favors the prepared mind, but at this level, you no longer rely on fortune at all. You prepare, adapt, and endure. If systems collapse, you rebuild. If alliances fail, you replace them. If status disappears, you recreate it elsewhere. You are portable power. This is what makes you untouchable. Not wealth, not fame, not intimidation, but self-sufficiency, psychological immunity, and strategic clarity. You don't need to prove dominance because your life reflects it. You don't announce strength because your calm reveals it. And if you've followed this entire journey, from awareness to sovereignty, then ask yourself honestly, where do you rank now? And where will you choose to rise next? If this sharpened your mind, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because this is not motivation, this is preparation.